Welcome to the first ever edition of Around the ECHL. Tommy Daniels here alongside my broadcast partner Maurice Fitzgerald, and joining us, one of the most popular guys to ever suit up in the ECHL, and what a great guy he is in the front office. The guy you never get to see, but we hear from him enough, especially when Maurice is on the broadcast with me. Usually it's like, tell Maurice to stop or you're going to get fined. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to the great Joe Babik.
I think that was only once, so let's not make Maurice sound that bad. But
Maybe the other time, maybe the other time was Marty telling me to tell Maurice to shut up.
yeah. But I appreciate you guys having me on, and it's an honor to be the first guest on this podcast.
It is. Well, you know what? I talked to you a few months ago about trying to get you on, and you were kind of busy at the time, so we said we'll hold off. And I was thinking about this when we were starting the show, and I thought, who is better to get on for this first show than Mr. ECHL? You started out as a broadcaster, Joe, won the Broadcaster Award, early on. Talk about your time as a broadcaster in this league.
It was a lot of fun. I was in Florence, South Carolina for 4 years with PD from 2001 to 05, and then 2 years in Fresno from 2006 to 08. And Tommy, it's a great fraternity. It's a lot of great people. Have kept in contact with a bunch of the guys from back in the day. So it's been a very rewarding experience, and really wouldn't change anything. Broadcasting is what I always wanted to do, and I got to do it for a while. And now transitioning into the communications role, it's been a great ride for making myself sound old, but 20 years.
Wow. I know Mo's chomping at the bit. Good looking good there, Mo. Where are you? You're in your home office?
I'm in the home office
He's
here.
in the bunker.
Yeah, there you go, in the bunker, as we all are trying to survive this ordeal. But what have the challenges been going from the broadcast world into working in the front office of the ECHL?
I think at first, when I first made the transition, it was just not having the camaraderie of being with a team and having, the highs of the wins, the lows of the losses, and just, having between the front office and the players and hockey operations, just having that camaraderie. So that was a big adjustment at first, but at the end of the day, we're all still working in professional sports. And I mean, what better job is there than working in the entertainment sports industry? And,
True.
You say you do it for a living. I don't really consider it work because it's what I love and it's what I enjoy doing. So it's not really like going to work every day. It's really just doing what you love doing more than anything.
Well, you know what? The one thing I've noticed about you, Joe, is you never sleep, because I'm getting, 5 o'clock in the morning, here comes a email from Joe Babik. And not to mention the fact there's only yourself and Gabby that really handles these social media and all the post-game updates. How the heck do you do that and still manage to be a father of, young children, right?
Well, that's the joys, Tommy. When you have a 5 and an almost 2-year-old, you're up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Sleeping in is now 6:15, 6:30. So, it's going to bed early, and because you're exhausted, but it's getting up early at the same time because they're awake and they're ready to go. So it's and as you basically said, it really is a 24/7 job anymore. And you basically have to be ready to go. So again, I enjoy doing it, and it's very rewarding.
Well, being a 24/7 job, like you said, with this layoff here for the past several months, how has that changed for you? Has it been a little bit more family time, a little more free time, or is there a lot more work behind the scenes gearing up for the next season?
Yeah, there's been obviously a lot more free time, Maurice, because there's not normally at this time of year training camps would be getting going this coming weekend, so we'd have a very busy time here. So it's kind of a little more laid back, stretched out. It's not really as much of a grind, but there's still stuff to get done and get ready. Working on schedules and other stuff that still needs to get done here for a season that's going to get started in a couple months. So it's still busy, but not quite as grind as it usually is at this time of year, and will be as we get into November and early December.
By the way, our Joe Babik is our guest here on the first ever Around the ECHL brand new podcast that will be airing every Tuesday here on all the American social channels with my broadcast partner, Maurice Fitzgerald. I'm Tommy Daniels. Hey, Joe, talk about the end of the year last year. It was tough for us, especially because, we had a couple of years here in Allen that we're not used to, not the typical expectations of playoffs or championship or bust. But last year was a good year for us. Maurice and I talked about it several times on the broadcast, how we felt like this team that we had assembled last year compared to a lot to those championship teams in 15, 16 that faced South Carolina and Wheeling in the finals. What was that like, knowing that the season was probably going to be shut down, in March? And how much notice did you have before the plug was finally pulled on the season?
I'll take that last part first. I mean, that Wednesday in March when Rudy Gobert got confirmed to have the virus, and then the NBA shut down. I mean, I think everybody kind of knew what was going to happen in the next 48 to 72 hours, and that's what happened. But it's a shame, and I think it's disappointment on a lot of levels. We were going into the last 4 weeks of the season, which is, the best usually hockey of the season, as teams are fighting for playoff spots and division races. It's the best attended games of the season usually. So, a lot of teams missed out on a lot of great crowds, which is obviously at our level where majority of the revenue comes from. So, they lost out on that. And just from a personal standpoint, from a lot of the players, like you guys with Tyler Sheehy was putting up great numbers as a rookie. Who knows what he could have done? You look at a Parker Milner in South Carolina who retired following the season, but he was at 7 shutouts and was, 1 shutout away from tying the single season record and within reach of moving up into the top 2 or 3 in all-time league history for career shutouts. So you just look at those, and it just is, what could have been. You said, as you said, you guys were on a roll. Idaho was starting to play some good hockey in your division. Look, Toledo and Newfoundland again were starting to play hot. South Carolina was just putting together a record type season and could have set all kind of league records. So I think that really is the big downer. It's just a disappointment on some of the accomplishments, team and individual wise. It could have happened during the 1920 season.
By the way, this is Joe Babik, the head of communications in the ECHL. Maurice?
And, speaking about the virus and everything going on, what do we have to look forward to, or what is the league doing to get ready for this next season as far as like off-ice personnel, on-ice personnel, players, and teams around the league? Are there going to be any mandates for you? Or are you going to be dealing with whatever the local municipalities are mandating?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's going to be like everything else. It's going to be a lot dependent on local jurisdictions and what goes on there, what's required from a fan standpoint, from a testing standpoint, restrictions there. But, there's a lot of good stuff to come out. We'll have some exciting stuff coming out later this week on some off-ice stuff for this coming season. And then, in the next couple of weeks, we should start to see some announcements as far as schedule and some possible, start dates obviously coming up here at the beginning of December, but the schedule will be the big one here in the next few weeks, and get it going. And knock on wood, hopefully we'll be able to get a complete season in and get the playoffs back and going again for 2021.
Yourself and Dan Petrino, Joe, are the two architects of putting that schedule together every year.
And it's so much fun, we get to do it twice this year. It's we've already done it once, so why not do it again?
And you know what? I know it's always easy to criticize, and I know people criticize, well, how does this happen? But you guys do a really good job. Sometimes I'm amazed that you don't have a 20-man staff like the NBA or the NHL does putting that together. It's just the two of you. If you could just kind of take us through that process, how do you even begin? Is it all computer now? And I'm sure you were there back in the day when there was not a computer to help you with that schedule. And how did that work?
Yeah, the last couple of years we've been able to use a computer software program, which has made our life a lot easier. In the past, we would just have a huge magnet board that would have all the teams going down the left side of the magnet board and all the dates going across the top, and you would do blackout dates teams didn't have, and each team had a magnet shape and color, and you just go and start putting magnets in there. And then the fun part after that was then you had to go back in by hand and do 26 teams schedule. So the great thing with the computer software we've had now for the last couple of years is everything's just laid out online. You can move things around, and then at the end of the day, it spits everything out for you. And not only does it give you every team's schedule, but then it has all kind of different, analytics you can see, as far as breakdown of, Friday, Saturday, and all that stuff. So the computer is a lifesaver, and it saves, at the end of the day, probably 20 hours worth of work just by having it all online. So it's been a big help to us to have it all electronic now.
What about this year with an All-Star break? Is there still going to be a planned All-Star game and an All-Star break?
There probably will be some sort of break, but there won't be a game. We've already announced that the game, which had been scheduled for Jacksonville, has been pushed to 2022. So there won't be a quote-unquote all-star game during this upcoming season. But and I know there's been some negotiations with the PHPA, which I'm not a part of. But the all-star break, quote-unquote, is a CBA mandate. So at some point in the midseason, there'll probably be a 3-day break for the players, but there won't be a game, probably won't be a Hall of Fame ceremony or any of the other big mid-season type events this coming season.
By the way, I just want to thank you too and the staff. I mean, getting to call that game last year was such an honor. And, you know, I remember getting the call on Christmas morning. I was at my daughter's and I saw Joe Ernst's name come up and I thought, oh my God, what the hell did I do? If Joe's calling me on Christmas, I screwed something up and he called me and he said, are you sitting down? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I got some hopefully what's exciting news for you. And I'm telling you, it was such a great honor. And to be able to call the game with one of my best friends, Jason Malles, you know, in Wichita was great. And having Neil Smith as part of the broadcast, the only thing that could have made it better is if one Mo Fitz was sitting there with me. But that was a really, really cool honor. And, you know, I just want to say thanks to you guys again.
Oh, you're welcome. And I had the honor to call an all-star game myself back in 2004. And same thing, all the emotions you had. It's a great experience. And back then I saw all the work that went into it. Now having worked at the league for 10 years and having been a part of 7, 8 all-star games myself, putting it on, I see all the hard work that goes into it. And it's rewarding for all the players and guests and everybody who comes. And it's always great at the end when everybody, you know, says how great it is. So I'm glad that you had a great time, and it's always a fun event. Unfortunately, we won't have one this year, but look forward to getting to Jacksonville in 2022.
2 more questions for the great Joe Babik, who heads up communications in the ECHL. Maurice, and then
I got one question I've been wanting to ask. You know, the NHL has had the outdoor game now for a while, and I've talked to Tommy about this a couple of times. He's like, that's a really great idea. And how come, or has there ever been any discussion with the American League, the ECHL, and the NHL to have like a showcase weekend where you have that sheet of ice out there? So why don't you have the NHL game be the main event, and the ECHL and AHL, especially if you can have local teams that tie into whoever's playing, to show the entire farm system for the stars of today and the stars of tomorrow as a hockey showcase weekend?
I think it's, you know, in theory, it's a great idea. I don't know any of the ramifications as far as insurance and rental of the ice and rental of the venue and everything. I think it would be a great idea if something like that could happen, and hopefully someday it will. I don't know that any discussions have taken place at this point to have something like that, but I think that would be a great event if we could get it in a good area. You know, in Allen, we were just obviously the game was at the Cotton Bowl this past year, but you know, you would want to have it in an area where you have, you know, teams, and with the American Stars and you know, Texas Stars in the American League, that would be a good location. There's several other locations in the league that would be great, depending on where the NHL game goes. Hopefully down the line, that certainly is something that we can see.
Joe, final thing for you with COVID, and I've had one of those tests myself. Just because, is it going to be, you may not even know this, it might not be determined yet, but will it be a situation this year where guys are tested before every game?
I'm sure, again, going back to Maurice's question there earlier, I'm sure it's going to come down to a lot of the local jurisdictions and what they're requiring. I don't know that testing every game is going to be on the table, but I'm sure, you know, until and if there's a vaccine, there's going to have to be, you know, some sort of testing and tracing just to make sure there's no outbreaks in any teams or areas. But again, at the end of the day, it probably comes down to jurisdictions and what they're requiring.
What are you doing? You mowing the lawn back there?
Yeah, we got some lawn mowing back here. You know, I'm a little disappointed we haven't talked Bills and Steelers here yet, since, you know, we got a great start to the season for both teams.
While you bring it up, let's talk about the AFC Championship preview this year with the Bills and the Steelers. And my buddy Joe Ernst will back me up on this. We have not had a lot of things to be proud of, but when you talk about Bills football the last, you know, God, almost 20 years. This year, it's a lot of fun to be a Buffalo Bills fan. You got to admit, now you've had Big Ben for a long time, so you get it. You know what it means to have a quarterback that you can depend on, that can make that big throw and that can win a Super Bowl. That I am a believer in Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's certainly had a great start to the season. That interception he threw yesterday probably had you pulling out your hair for a little bit there, but he he brought them back. But it's it's been great to see the NFL come back, and hopefully some of the stadiums get some fans in there too, just to add to the excitement. It's been kind of dead without the fans. I'd have loved to watch the end of the Eagles game yesterday or on Sunday with the fans booing in the seats when that game went down to the wire. But yeah, it's been a great start for the Bills and Steelers, and hopefully they can both keep it up.
Well, Joe, just remember when Maurice says something this year to get us in trouble that you were our first guest around the ECHL, and it was a great honor to have you. Congratulations again. You've done an amazing job, and we really enjoyed our time in the ECHL. It seems like just yesterday we were having that conversation about switching, and of course when the CHL pretty much went under, and the ECHL saved us. But it's been a fun. What is this? Our 7th year?
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. I think it'll be 6 years ago next week. We were all in Chicago there, so it's definitely been a wild ride. And thanks to both you and Maurice for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
It's been great, Joe. Enjoy the rest of your night there. And Maurice, thank you for joining us on the first ever Around the ECHL. Tommy Daniels saying so long. We'll see you soon.